Ed, see my fingertips? You know what I'm doing right now? I'm hitting Control-Alt-Delete.
Yeah.
You know why?
You want to reboot.
I'm trying to reboot this piece of... Jesus. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our show. We have a wonderful show today. Yes, we do. It's Tuesday, December the 18th. Tonight is our Christmas party. All you people out there, if you want to come and party down with the number one people in town, not to blow our own horn, tonight's the night. Tonight is the night.
And everybody gets one ticket.
Yeah, but you have to dance. Nobody's allowed who doesn't dance. Anyways, so we have a nice show for you before the party begins, and you might want to know what's happening, but of course we're going to have the...
big news today.
Big news today. We're going to have some big news.
You know what the big news is, I think?
I know what the big news is, but let's not steal Ricky's thunder, because Ricky Gerwitz is going to read the news. But we've got the CEO of Flower One here. Ken Villazor is here for the first time. We're going to have... we also had a visit from Chris Naprawa from Khiron Life Sciences. He's not the CEO. He's actually the president. We have to fix that because there's another gentleman who's the CEO. He won't like that. Anyways, Chris Naprawa is going to update us on all of the things happening in Latin America for Khiron Life Sciences. And let's just say that they have got their shit going on. Yo! Full disclosure, I own shares. I own shares, and I own shares. And they've been a client in the past, so they should be considered financial supporters of our network. It's not like we didn't choose them. We chose them. They didn't choose us. We chose them. Anyways, then, of course, Ed and I will wax poetic, philosophical, and ridiculous on the marketplace. Opine.
Oh, like when I sing to a coniferous tree, I say, opine.
Oh, just like that. Then, of course, Clint Sharples is going to be here, CEO of Heritage Cannabis. Clint Sharples is a gentleman who runs 5 other companies generating $100 million in net income, or is it revenue?
Revenue.
I don't know. I can't remember.
I'd say revenue.
I'm old. I'm losing my marbles. Anyways, that's going to be the show today. So, what are you doing today, Ed?
Well, you know what? I was invited to this Christmas party, but I'm going to pass. I haven't told anybody yet. I'm just kidding. I'm going to go to the Christmas party.
Oh, God, you had me worried there.
I'm going to go to the Christmas party.
It's a star-studded event.
This is, I think, the first time I feel as though that screen over there and this sweater match. There's there's something going on here.
Ooh, we're going to have to put your patterns in the font now. So big news today. Big news. What's the big news?
I think Tilray signed a big deal with Novartis.
Yeah, I had it. I just left it on my... You know what? Let's let Ricky read the news, because she's actually got the news, and then we can talk about the news.
Yeah, let's talk about it later. But
here's Ricky Gerwitz with the news.
Thanks, and here are the headlines moving markets today. It's been announced that New Zealanders will decide whether to legalize cannabis for recreational use in a referendum held during the 2020 general election. A yes vote would make New Zealand the first Asia-Pacific country to allow recreational use of marijuana in a region where it is widely prohibited. Tilray Canada Limited has entered into an agreement to collaborate with Sandoz AG, a generic pharmaceuticals and biosimilars company and a part of Novartis Group. The agreement is aimed to increase Tilray's availability of their medical cannabis products across the world. The framework of the agreement between Tilray and Sandoz represents the intentions of the two companies to jointly operate in jurisdictions where cannabis is or will be approved for medical purposes. TerrAscend Corp announced that its majority-owned subsidiary, Netta NJ LLC, was awarded a permit to apply for a vertically integrated license in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. Aphria Inc. and RapidDose Therapeutics Inc. announced that they have expanded the scope of their previously announced agreement. This expands the territory where Aphria has been granted exclusive preferred rights to license, manufacture, distribute, and sell RDT's QuickStrip, an innovative proprietary delivery technology for the cannabis market, to Germany. MJardin Group announced its first medical cannabis research investment to fund 2 studies on the benefits of cannabinoids on epilepsy and schizophrenia. Beginning in the first quarter of 2019, the studies will be conducted in Salamanca, Spain for a period of 1 year. The study is a collaboration with Salamanca University and the Institute of Neuroscience of Castilla y León. Vivo Cannabis Inc. announced the appointment of Andreas Sander as President, European Operations, and Managing Director of Vivo's German subsidiary. Mr. Sander will assume the position effective January 1st, 2019. He has spent 25 years in the European pharmaceutical industry. And that's your news for today.
So that Novartis deal is pretty huge news for Tilray, even though we already saw mentions of Novartis in their filed statements.
It would be more huge if it was for FSD.
If it was for FSD.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, huge.
Wait, we're talking about, okay, so Novartis. Novartis is a $214 billion company trading on the Swiss exchange, if I'm not mistaken, is the primary exchange, trading as a, what do you call that? Depository receipt on the NYSE.
ADR?
ADR. ADR, American Depository Receipt.
Okay.
But what did it do for Tilray today?
Tilray was down to $65.
Tilray was down to $65 when it closed yesterday. Yes.
And now, was it yesterday?
Yeah. No, it was down to 65.
2 days ago.
No, but then it even dropped lower. Remember that? You said.
No, it was 72.
No. Monday night, you said.
Okay, here it is at
Look at
77.
Tilray. You can buy this thing in the morning, and it's going to go up the next day, which it did. It went back up to 77.
It went up a bit, but then it got hammered the following day.
Well, it got hammered below its previous close.
And yesterday it was the low.
Yeah, well, that's.
And
so
it was
we agree.
really oversold.
We agree.
Fine.
No, fine.
Fine.
Anyway, so what's the net positive for Tilray? I mean, all it did was stop it from bleeding more today. But the blood will continue.
No. Look. If you owned it at 67, 1,000 shares, and you sold it today, you'd make yourself $8,000, $9,000.
Nah.
Yeah.
How many shares would you have to make that?
1,000.
1,000 shares.
It got down yesterday, 64.06, and right now it's 77. That's $13.
Ooh, that's not bad. And 1 day profit.
Well, but you know what? The setup now is that it looks higher.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say to you, it's going to gradually grind higher.
Grind.
Right. Yeah. I think it could be $85, $85, $90, $95 in the next week.
But do you think it's going to go back to 100.5 or 300?
No.
No. Those days are gone.
Yeah, those days are gone.
Oh, so over.
Yeah.
We could be eating our shorts in 2 weeks, Ed. That's how volatile this market is. What if it does an Amazon?
Eating our shorts?
No, what if it does like an Apple and starts slamming in value like nobody's business?
And if you look at the volume on this...
Here's what you got to ask yourself. How many countries does Novartis distribute products into?
1,000?
Ding, ding, ding. 1,000 countries? There's not 1,000 countries on the planet.
Yeah, we had that. And I remember I guessed within two
countries? No, that was Apotex we were talking about.
No. I said, how many countries there are in the world?
Oh.
How many countries there are in the world? How many are there? Let's see if you remember.
I can't remember.
Okay.
192.
I think it's 194, but you know.
See, we got into that argument last time.
Okay.
Anyways, the point is, Novartis...
What's the point?
Novartis is announced that Tilray is going to be the exclusive distributor of cannabis, or the sole supplier of cannabis products to Tilray. And Tilray distributes into how many countries? Let's just say all of them.
I'll move one eye at a time. That'll really...
Their products are available in all countries. I know.
Are they?
Know. Yeah. No, I know. It's insane. Okay, tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a leap of faith, and we're going to pull up Tilray's chart on my NDI. No, we're not. You still can't see it, huh? even though it's up. Okay, Ed, why don't you pull up a chart of Tilray? Since my computer evidently is...
Okay, my Tilray is up.
Your Tilray is up. What did you do to get your Tilray up,
I never heard
Ed?
it referred to as a Tilray before, but I can understand.
You got a big Tilray, do you?
Yep. Jesus.
Boy, they're really going to hate us if we keep using them for our comic fodder.
Fodder.
Comic cannon fodder.
Are you true yet fodder?
Are you true yet fodder?
That's what.
no way to
that was
treat-
a joke about. Can I
think
say?
we're no.
It's a political joke.
Oh, it's political. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
As soon as there's fathers and daughters involved, it's like, don't even go there.
You know what?
serious stuff.
I'm sick and tired of the bullshit. I really am. The bullshit that
My bullshit?
the people in power foist on the masses, hoi polloi, the masses, hoi polloi.
What are you going to do about it?
Well, you know what? I'm not going to do anything about it because you know what? Maybe I'm already doing something about it, but I don't want anybody to know.
You're going to start blowing shit up?
Nah, I'm not a violent person. But
That's
I'm
good.
tired of people sticking it in my dupa.
Oh,
That's a
you're getting it
euphemism.
regular, like, are you?
Yeah, you know what? Come on. Like,
Boy, oh boy.
it's all about how to suck the money out of your little nest egg into their nest egg.
Wealth transfer,
It's
I
bullshit.
think they
It's
call that.
bullshit.
I think they call that the stock market.
You know what? I'm almost tempted to run for politics. And I'm going to say, I'll show you fucks.
Okay, show of hands in the audience. How many people think Ed should run for public office?
Yes!
All
Yes!
right.
Under
It's
the
a majority.
platform.
It's a
Okay.
majority.
One.
A majority of one. Well, we only have one studio audience member.
But it's such a lot. I mean, these people that are in power with these limited,
These
myopic
people I
perspectives.
know, they're always making faces.
I don't want to rant. I don't want to get,
Look, we had Secret Santa today in the studio, and look what I got.
drumsticks.
Pencil drumsticks.
You give me that little monkey that.
You just wind me up and let me go.
Nice monkey.
And I also got a book, Sick in the Head, by Judd Apatow. You know who Judd Apatow is?
Yeah, I know it.
The comic director,
Yeah,
comic guy.
he's been pretty hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Girls,
responsible
he does
for much
girls.
laughter.
Yeah.
He does girls. Well, that's none of my business, Ed. Not that there's
No,
anything
yeah.
wrong with that.
Well,
Jesus
you-
Christ, why are you telling me that? Was there a time when
Hashtag
you didn't
me
do
too.
girls? No, I don't think that's what the hashtag Me Too movement is about, Ed. Hashtag Me Too. Yeah, I like girls. I do girls. Yeah. Hashtag Me Too.
Okay.
Anyways,
I think you know what?
So-
we should point out to it was our
the assembled crowd.
Secret Santa Day.
Are you ready to, swap your ass out for
Yeah.
our guest?
Yep.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to say, ready? Countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Swap.
1. Here's the trivia question of the day.
All right, folks, here is the question of the day for you. We want to test your knowledge. And the question is about the Canadian Stock Exchange. That's right, the TSX has a more than 150-year history. It was created by 24 men, no surprise, in October of 1861. At the time, there were only 18 stocks listed on the exchange, mostly banks and real estate companies. So here's the question: how long would they trade for in those early days? Was it A, each trader was given one trade possibility over a 6-hour stretch? B, they'd trade all day with a break for lunch? Or C, there was one 30-minute trading session? The answer is coming up shortly.
Hey everybody, guess who's here? I've got Ken Villazor. He is the president and CEO of Flower One, trading on the CSE under the symbol FONE. For the first time, Ken, welcome to our little show.
Thanks for having me.
You bet.
And thanks for wearing the flower shirt.
I guess that was a happy coincidence, wasn't it? Let's start off with an overview. What is Flower One?
So we are a cannabis company, and we're focused in the U.S. market. And as step one, we're focused in Nevada.
Okay.
We're really excited about the Nevada market. We can talk a little bit about that, but in that market, we have two assets. We have a 25,000 square foot indoor cultivation production facility. It has 5 licenses, 4 operational, 1 provisional. And we have our flagship facility, which is the largest commercial scale greenhouse in Nevada. It is currently under conversion. We've put about 40,000 hours of construction renovation into it.
How big is it? What's the footprint?
So all in, it will be 400,000 square feet of cultivation.
Oh, that's a big facility.
It is big. And then right adjacent and built onto the structure of the greenhouse will be a 55,000 square foot post-harvest production and packaging facility as well. So it's large. You know, we think in the cultivation production space, scale will win. And you know, it's very important when you're playing the long game in the space. And when you look at Nevada, it's a consumption-heavy market with the significant tourist population of Las Vegas.
Right.
And so, you know, we really like the market. It's well-regulated. So we think there's tremendous opportunities and we're well-positioned.
Sure. And is Nevada one of those states where you can be vertically integrated from seed to sale in the retail context?
Yes. You know, the way it's structured in Nevada is you can own any part of the value chain. So currently there's about 270 or so license holders in the state.
270?
270, but that's along every part of the value chain. So if you broke that up, you have about 115 cultivators, 80 producers, and those are license holders that can process dry flower and trim. About 62 to 65 in the market today active retail dispensaries, and 9 distributors and 9 labs, roughly. So that's the composition of the market today. So you can own one of those licenses along the value chain or all of them. In our case, we're a big believer in concentrating on where we're good.
Okay.
And our strength is cultivation first and foremost, and production. And you know, we've approached the Nevada market in a fairly unique way. Our focus isn't vertical integration. We don't see that as being paramount or critical to the success of our business. What we really like is the fact that when you look at the Nevada market, one of its defining attributes is that heavy tourist base in Las Vegas. You have, in the state of Nevada, you have 55 million people that come into Nevada every year, and about 42 to 45 million that target Las Vegas. So that's a significant influx. It's a steady flow in terms of an addressable market coming in 12 months of the year. And you know, for us, we really see that as being significant. It's a rec-based market. So for us, you know, we look at that and say, if you're a brand in the United States and you have had success and gained market share in another market like California, you want to build your brand equity eventually across the country. And right now the US is very fragmented in that it's a state-by-state market. So really for those brands, the opportunity with Las Vegas is you've got those tourists that come in, they're in there for a purpose, and we feel it's very much aligned with cannabis. They have that experience of using your brand or your product in the market, and they go back to their home market. So it's a very efficient way to build brand equity, and we think those brands, for that very reason, are attracted to the Las Vegas market. So if that brand wants to enter the market, they really have only one of two pathways to get there. They either acquire licenses, build up cultivation and production so that they can grow, process, and package their product, or they can partner with a company like Flower One. So that for us is the opportunity, and you know, right now we're in the midst of having you know, many concurrent conversations with brand partners.
Sure. Okay, so in the grand scheme of things, is Nevada going to continue to issue licenses across the whole value chain on a progressive basis, increasing competition?
Yeah, it's not. I think the state has made a decision that, with the exception of retail, they're fairly comfortable and feel the number of licenses that are in the system today is the right number. So in the case of retail, and this really benefits Flower One, the state has just approved, in effect, the doubling of retail licenses. So literally just earlier this month, we're moving from about 62 licenses to over 120. So by this time next year, you'll see a doubling of the retail footprint. And each of those, you know, 120 plus retailers, they're key customers for us. We want to do business with all of them. And
so they're going to double the retailers, but not double the growers.
Precisely.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, that's built-in value proposition right there.
It's again, I think, you know, we feel we're really well positioned
Sure.
to serve that market. and work with many reputable brands who really want to gain shelf space in the state.
Right. Okay, so then is your ambition ultimately to become a multi-state operator, or are you going to focus exclusively on Nevada?
Yeah, I think we get asked that question all the time. And really the answer to that is our commitment to our shareholders is to stay sharply focused on Nevada. I think what we're seeing in this space, both north and south of the border, but particularly here in Canada, is that shareholders now are really expecting public companies in this space to deliver results, generate revenue, generate cash flow, and deliver those numbers. And from our point of view, with our board, our management, and our senior executive team, we don't think we can do that well or do that quickly unless we focus on a single market. So, Nevada for us is the focus, and if you sort of look at where the company will be over the next 2 quarters, we'll basically be onboarding plants. We'll complete the greenhouse conversion in January, February. We'll onboard plants. We'll be fully canopied in that facility in early Q2, and we'll be doing our first harvest and processing in the back half of the first half of the year. So for us, that's significant, and I think once we get there, I think then our board and our advisory team will then look towards other markets. And there's a lot of good markets. We like California particularly.
So what are the opportunities for consolidation in Nevada, and is that something that you guys are sort of looking at as a growth strategy?
Yeah, consolidation for us in Nevada isn't something we're looking at, and I think the reason being, we have such significant scale in the market today. If you took, the top 8 or 10 cultivators and producers in terms of just pure square footage and average that out, we're about 12 times larger. So we really...
that's a big facility. I've been to a few in Nevada, and there's nothing near that size that I've seen. Anyways.
Yeah, you'll have to come and see ours the next time you're down.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's, we have sufficient scale. We may look at a few additional assets to support production and processing down the road, but at 455,000 square feet, we really feel we have what we need to accommodate, the needs of our brand partners in the market.
Very interesting. Okay, so then is the proliferation of growers and distributors in terms of the retail context, is that something that you think is closely regulated in terms of available market, addressable market versus available supply? And is that what's governing the state of Nevada's distribution of licenses? I'm just trying to understand why they would allow double the dispensaries or retail sales locations while not increasing the available suppliers. And is there a formula that you're aware of there?
Yeah, I'm not aware of a formula, but I think I could say a couple things. One is when you look at the market, the addressable market, it's 75% of the market is really concentrated in the Las Vegas area.
Okay,
for obvious reasons. Tourists, it's a heavy rec market.
And are there numbers that you can speak to in terms of what exactly is the cannabis market in Nevada in the last quarter, year?
Yeah, so the state, because it has seed to sale tracking, they have a very good handle in terms of metrics. So a couple of things there. The run rate right now, if you looked at total annual revenues, total sales of cannabis in Nevada, it's at about a $600 million run rate per annum. So, we're only 18 months into full legalization. We think it's at least $1 billion market. So I think the way the regulators in the state look at it is, there certainly needs to be a broader retail footprint to meet that market, not just in Clark County, but in markets like Reno and Carson City.
Right.
So I think that's important. And I think when they look at projected supply coming online, including our forecasted supply, which is about 140,000 pounds, 62,000 kilograms, I think they sort of see that there's enough there likely in the short term to meet the market needs.
Right. Okay. Well, that's great, Ken. We're going to leave it there. We'll come back to you in due course and have you back again, and we will come down and shoot your facility because I'd love to see that big thing down there.
Yeah, we'd love to have you down there.
Right now, we're going to have the answer to the trivia question.
All right. We asked you earlier about the Canadian Stock Exchange, the TSX, which has a more than 150-year history. And we asked you how long would they trade for in those early days? Well, the answer is C. There was one 30-minute trading session. That's right, according to Investopedia.com, in the infancy of the TSX, there was one 30-minute trading session each weekday, and only a few transactions would take place. By 1901, there were 100 companies on the TSX, and in 1913, the exchange moved into its very own building. That's the same building that houses us here at Midas Letter today. If you got this one right, folks, give yourself a gold star.
Ta-da! Bum 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 bum. What's going on there, Ed? Did you have a couple?
The rally stocks are the marijuana stocks are starting to rally
Right now.
Well, yeah, you know, just
at the end of the day.
Slightly.
A lot of good that does us. You know, one thing that we haven't done yet today that we should do every day if we're to be, you know, any kind of hosts whatsoever of any merit or use to anybody ever, anywhere, we should talk to the audience. Talk to the animals. You know that song?
Yeah.
But we're going to talk to the audience. And you know why we talk to the audience, Ed? Take a wild guess.
To get them involved.
They talk back, exactly. So, as soon as I can get my audience thing going here, live streaming, and here we go. Where is it? What is taking this thing so long? Boy, I think our internet is a little bit chuffed today. Don't ask me why. Oh, here we go. Javante Music is here. Hello, Javante. You did not earn a gold star today. Why not? Troy Smith. Hello, Troy. Maple Mike. Good to see you. Lee Britton. Bring on Dan. Dan's coming up just in a little bit here. Jelly Beans 37421. Love to see that big thing down there. Whoa. Woo!
Me too.
Well,
me too.
Yeah.
Hashtag me too.
Boy, am I blushing? Probably not. Am I sweating? Yes. Let's see. Nick Doma's here. Hello, Nika Domi from Mind Your Wealth. Thank you for joining us today. Scott Teal. Hello, Scott. Agreed. Today's a great Khiron day. Yes, indeed. Kemp Consulting. Kemp Consulting suggests that James will be Ed's campaign manager. Oh, yeah, see? Elected office. This is the audience. Remember, the whole audience voted yes.
Yeah.
So what office would you run for, Ed?
I'd run for the whole shooting match. Only because...
Presidente?
You know what? Prime Minister, Presidente, global leader, whatever you want to call it.
What about Chief Fluffer?
There's such bullshit out there. I'm telling you, like
Boy, you sound really angry, Ed.
You know what? I'm hangry.
Hangry?
I'm hungry.
Can I get you a sausage?
Yeah. What kind of sausage?
Blood sausage. How do you see the psychologists of Citron bigging up Aphria and Canadian companies on Twitter? The psychology of Citron. You're talking about Citron research, talking about Andrew Left. Andrew Left has shot his credibility feet out from under himself with a whole bunch of bad calls, and has especially shot his feet out from under him on the credibility front by now jumping on the Aphria side and the Kronos side after suggesting that those companies were worthless. I don't think there's any psychology left there for anybody who has anything approaching what we might describe as memory, because, I don't know, the guy's got no credibility for me. What about you, Edward? You know who we're talking about, don't you?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Why do I look like I'm in a bit of a stupor?
Look like you
do I look like I'm mentally torpor?
Pick up milk and butter and chocolates. And Jesus Christ, I wish James would just shut the fuck up. Anyways,
yeah.
That was that.
You know what? I don't think it's like, like calls in the market. If you're a trader and you buy in the morning and you sell at night and you make a profit, you were right. Right? You can be more right, but if it's about, if you buy it and sell it and you lose and it goes lower, maybe you're still right because you limited your loss.
You sell it, you lose. Well, true. I mean,
look, like Andrew Left made some calls and Hindenburg made some calls. So far, the sector has come down a bit. So
Well, it's fair enough for these guys to say, okay, I made a mistake, and now I actually think that this is a worthwhile company to own, and I'm going to recommend, or at least talk about buying it as opposed to shorting it, because shorting it didn't really work out, and now.
Well, it kind of worked out.
Well, it kind of did. In Aphria's case, certainly they could have, they could have caught
It's
$4
$8.
a share.
It's not, it's not 12 anymore.
Well, that's true. But mind you, the whole sector is down 30%. X of any short reports. I'm just saying the general sentiment.
X of any Dux ex machina. Just saying.
Now you're trying to wax Latin on me.
You know what that is all about. That's a term used in act and the playwright.
I know exactly what you mean, but never mind that. Here's
Okay.
Charting Man Dan. Charting Dan McDermitt is here to talk about the S&P and what might turn this market around in Q1 2019. Hey, Dan, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. Quite the intro. Very nice.
That's the first time I've seen that, too. It's great. Anyways, Dan, it's awesome to see you again this week. And here we are in another down week, another bunch of red days piling up here. Let's talk about the S&P 500. What's the story there?
So we're continuing to see weakness in the S&P 500, and we just broke the lows that we've seen at this point. We had October lows that we were watching. Those have broken. So now we're looking back at February, and those in the market back in February can remember that was a time of significant fear. We had a big old dump. We ended up recovering from it, but we're now looking back down at those support levels. So we continue to see weakness. At this point, I'm watching how oil is going to be coming into play with the market as a whole. And we're patiently waiting for signals that the trend has shifted. But until that happens, we're still looking for more red.
Sure. How important would you say the speech of Chinese Premier Jinping is going to be?
It's definitely going to interact or have an impact on the markets in the short term. That's the narrative that the market is attaching itself to right now. Of course, the Fed and the rates are going to be on the topic of discussion, but it's China. It's China and the U.S. and the trade deals, and that's what's the driving force. And the headlines and the tweets, that's what we're seeing the biggest reaction. So that's what the market is looking for.
Mm-hmm. And so how's all this affecting the cannabis sector?
Well, as we know, that if the market is weak, doesn't really matter what news you get, we're going to see weakness. And it's almost like if we could imagine the run-up into the October, or I should say into the first day of sales in Canada. If that were happening in this market environment, we would have seen such a different run-up. It would have been very notable. And it was almost like the perfect storm in terms of the S&P 500 being at all-time highs and that run-up with Canadian MJ at all-time highs that allowed for such significant gains because everything was, sunshine and rainbows and euphoria in the market. And had that timing lined up where we were looking to, next week, the first week of recreational sales, it would have been a much more muted response, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what's going to catalyze the change in the weather, so to speak?
It's always emotion. It's a cycle of emotions. We saw the top with extreme euphoria. It was palpable. Everybody was pumped. Everybody was talking about gains, and now we're seeing the exact opposite. So we're monitoring social media as always, Facebook groups, Reddit, Twitter, and seeing people saying, I want to take my losses now and exit the sector. It's the market's weak and I'm sick of seeing red day after day. And so we reach a point where the retail investors just doesn't want to take it anymore. They exit, and then that's where we look for the potential shift in momentum. And really we're looking for that in the cryptocurrency space as well. That's a more long drawn out version of euphoric cycles and fear cycles, but it's a smaller version as to what's going on in the Canadian MJ space as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you're starting to see those indications of absolute despair, the case where the night is darkest before the dawn, does that mean that we are on the verge potentially of a reversal?
Well, it's absolutely, we're always watching for it. We need to see daily trend changes. That's the bottom line. We need to see higher lows and higher highs on the daily time frame. that's going to mark at least short-term relief and give us support levels that we can play off of. Right now, the vast majority of major names only have 1 or 2 support levels anywhere nearby that we have to be playing off of. So we're keeping an eye out for it. The more we see, people capitulating and exiting their positions, the more we're paying attention. Hey, is this the turnaround? But in the end, it's going to be the S&P 500 and to a certain degree oil that marks the temporary bottom, in my opinion.
Sure. Okay. Elaborate on that a bit, on the price of oil and how that's going to interact with the S&P on sentiment in the cannabis space.
So I'm always about correlations. Those who've been watching my videos know that I'm constantly talking about correlations and how they're changing. Oil in the markets generally have a direct correlation. If oil's going up, the markets are going up. Some days you can literally line up the 5-minute time frames and the candlesticks will be the exact same. You could overlap them, and it's so significant a correlation that the S&P 500 does exactly what oil does, or vice versa to a certain degree. And I'll show you here in just a second on the charts how the top of the S&P 500 was marked by a very significant oil dump. And I do believe that oil is going to get at least a little bit of a relief rally in the near term. And I do believe that that will be a relief rally in the S&P 500, which in turn will be a relief rally in the Canadian MJ space, as it's all correlated to a certain degree.
So it could be all sunshine and rainbows again by the end of Q1 2019?
Well, let's start with a start of a bounce. We'll take it from there.
Okay. All right, let's go to the charts now, and you can explain your oil correlation theory.
So here's the S&P 500. I look at it through SPY, the ETF. This is the daily time frame. We had a big dump day on big volume yesterday. Today, we're pretty much bouncing around within that range. That's what we call an equilibrium. Things tighten up after a lot of volatility. Bottom line is the bears are still in control after a break of support to lower lows. If we go to the weekly time frame, we can see that the top of SPY was pretty much up October. When October started, that's when the dump started to get going. And it's pretty much been 3 months of weakness. We just hit those lower lows. And if we bring up the oil chart, we can look at the monthly time frame. And over the last 3 months, starting in October, we have seen an all-out dump, taking back 1 year, 12 months of upside action erased in 3 months of this dump. So I'm looking at a major support on oil of 42.08, and I'm looking for that support level to hold and for us to form a higher low compared to that. So when we get a bounce and some relief on oil, we'll just be looking for a lower high to form. Again, this dump is so significant that we're not going to be looking for any kind of major trend changes. But on that bounce where we look for the lower high, that's where we're going to be looking for SPY to see a weekly bounce to set its lower high. And then we'll be looking for Canadian MJ names to be setting their lower highs as well.
Interesting.
So
okay, and so how does all of that affect sentiment in the cannabis sector?
Well, once we have some green and some relief in the S&P 500, right now what we have is people fleeing, banking stocks, fleeing Amazon, Apple, all these major tech names. So if people are fleeing these extremely established names with significant revenue and earnings, they're not going to be putting it into an extremely speculative sector. We know that the cannabis sector has tons of potential, but these companies are not proven. So to think that people are going to move their money from proven companies and put them into speculative companies is just not going to happen. But if money starts to come back into these companies and back into the market, we'll be looking for people to be a little bit more, liberal in terms of where they can allocate their capital and maybe be willing to take on a little bit more risk if they don't have to worry about the S&P 500 collapsing if we see this bounce start to get going.
Okay, so then it's funny that the cannabis space is somehow then correlated to what's happening with the price of oil, and we're not talking CBD oil here.
Exactly, and yeah, like I said in one of our last talks, as far as correlations and the markets go, we're in such a globalized economy that everything is interwoven. And, Canadian MJ investors have to be watching what China's doing and what Trump is doing and these trade deals and oil. It's a vast web and it seems overwhelming. But the more you see how these things interact, I'm staring at the screen every day and just watching these little minute ticks and seeing how everything is comparing to each other. And without a doubt, these correlations are certainly something to be aware of and be monitoring. And I do believe that oil bouncing will give us a relief bounce in both markets and, of course, the Canadian MJ sector.
I see some names are sort of responding positively to the general weakness, acting sort of in contrary to the general market direction, and others are more closely emulating the general market direction. Why are these names that seem to be, less impacted by the negativity, why are they so less negatively impacted?
Well, that can be a number of things. It can be, little fundamental reasons. It can be really, honestly, that's a great observation to be making in this point in time, because when we see the shift happen in the market and the market gets some relief bounce, the names that are holding up better are going to respond better to when the bulls finally do show up. So as far as, the bottom line fundamentally as to why that's going on, I don't have the answer. Perhaps, some of the hedge funds or bigger banks, investment banks, have done some more due diligence and are more confident in these names. I can't speak to the specifics as to why, but what's important is to recognize that it is happening and then be able to act on it. So today we had the news from Tilray, and Tilray getting their partnership with the pharmaceutical. It's a little bit of a different deal. We didn't get the capital influx and some ownership like we saw with Khiron and with Canopy. But what we're seeing is that we're seeing, Canopy still reacting weak, a red day. We only have one support level nearby, and this is for CGC. It's 2810, the only support nearby. And we can see other names responding more bullish. APHA has a green day today and broke the high of the last 2 days. And here, Khiron as well is seeing a solid base of support being established at $11 on the U.S. side of things. And I am going to be looking for Khiron to potentially see a nice little bounce up into the mid $12 range as we have consolidated to the point where, we had our bullish news. We saw that initial euphoria. People took their profit. We're establishing a base of support around this $11 area. And now we're going to look for a bounce and a lower high to form. So it's definitely standing out to me more so today than in the recent past. Whereas, normally these major Canadian MJ names are all moving in alignment with each other. Whereas today we're seeing CGC and ACB respond a little bit weaker, while APHA and Khiron are responding a little bit stronger. And again, all of this response is in response to the Tilray news that we got this morning.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, Dan, that's fascinating and insightful as ever. Appreciate your input. We'll see you again next week.
Have a great day. See you soon.
Oil's
getting smoked.
Oil's got smoked, and now it's reversed.
I say tomorrow it's up.
I say it's up already.
Wow. Look. The oil U, which is oily, extremely unctuous.
Extremely unctuous.
Oh,
I'm
in.
I like to look at
I bought the
West.
oil U at 1486.
Really?
Just saying.
1486.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're buying an index.
I'm buying the triple leveraged ETF. It's down like $3.50 today.
You're buying the triple leverage ETF. How much you put in there? $1,000?
12,000.
12,000.
Yeah, what do you think? I'm a biker?
Wait a sec. Let me get this straight. I'll bet you put in 4,000 and you're tripling it out already. Am I right? Am I right?
No
cigar. No cigar.
This would be one of those things where you were a contestant. You'd fall through the thing and land in the tub of water.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's how wrong I was.
Whew. No, I bought 800 at $14.86. I'm going to try something here with the viewers.
Okay.
So tomorrow I could be eating goat.
Okay. You're actually going to try to pull off a smart comment.
I'm thinking like when here we are talking about oil.
Yeah.
Everybody's nervous. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
Okay.
Blah blah blah.
Getting the point. Getting to the point.
So what's 8 times 15? 12 UE. 12 UE. Just for a flipper.
A flipper.
I'll sell it tomorrow.
All right. Boy, that's going out on a limb, don't you think? What if it goes the other way? What happens to you?
Well, all I can lose on this trade if it goes to zero is 12,000 US. If it goes to zero, you know what it would have to go to for oil to do that? Oil would have to drop $5, $10, $15, $20, $30, $40, whatever.
Well, if it dropped $40, it would be close to free.
At 75, they're saying oil should go to 100. Now it's at 46, and what are they saying? It's going to zero? I don't think so. But maybe it is. Maybe it is.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
What are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking that I'd like to reinstall my NDI so that I can play charts up on screen too, because I'm feeling left out, Ed. No, I'm thinking that I can't wait for our Christmas party to begin in 1 hour
and 10 minutes,
15 minutes,
15.
And yeah, I'm already sort of picking out what I'm going to drink because I'm thirsty.
I was playing golf with my friend.
Golf
at the club a couple years ago, and actually it's maybe like 5 years ago, and he hits this shot right, and he's sitting pretty, like he's got like 90 yards to go. He's crushed his drive. He hits a shot and he buries the club into the ground, and a major piece of turf is propelled forward, and the ball moves like 5 feet, right? I said, Gord, what were you thinking when you hit that shot? He says, you want to know the truth? I said, absolutely. He said, I was thinking, what was the luncheon special? What was the luncheon special? He had a bit of an appetite. He was a bit portly.
Bit of an eater?
Corpulent.
Corpulent.
Like, for instance, you were just saying, I know what my first drink's going to be. In other words, you got a bit of a thirst on there, young fella.
I do.
And you want to get there. Should we shut the show down early?
I don't think that would be very nice.
That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Let's call a spade a spade.
No, I don't. I don't want to shut down the show early. I'm very focused on having a full and
Prosperous life.
robust show. Now, every show counts. Every watcher of the show counts. Nick Dushko is saying, funny, I bought oil yesterday. Be interesting to know, where did you buy oil yesterday? What price there?
Well,
Nick?
I bought the ETF because, I'm a heroin addict. That's what my friend says. When you buy the triple leveraged ETFs, you're looking for heroin. Like
Right.
one times leverage.
So triple is not triple the risk to your investment.
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is. Okay.
No, for instance, if oil goes up 5%, this is going to move 15%.
Okay. Oh. So you're looking at, if it goes up,
$2.
you're going to make
And the inventory numbers come out tomorrow morning.
you're going to make 36 grand.
No, if it goes up $2 and $2 on, say, 48 is what? 4%? So 4% on the price of oil translate to a 12% move in this vehicle. So 12% on my investment of 12 grand is $1,400. So you bet.
Doesn't sound like heroin to me.
Oh yeah, it's heroin.
Sounds like chump change.
That investment's down about 30% today.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
Here's the interesting thing. So Charting Man Dan was saying that when he starts to see people expressing in social media the idea that, you know what, I'm sick of seeing all this red, I'm blowing out my shares, I'm going to cash.
That's when you go along. That's to go the other way, right?
Well,
we've talked about that.
But people start saying that, so today's the 18th. People start saying that, I've seen it in the last week, so it's been a week. And it's going to intensify if it continues red over the next week, right? So at what point do you buy in? I mean, that could go on for, look at the mining meltdown.
Okay. Can I
So it went on
can
for
I tell you?
years.
I'll tell you maybe for the 10th time in the last 2 months.
Oh, you sounded like my wife.
You look for the RSI.
My husband.
The RSI down there at the 2025 level. You look to be through the Bollinger Bands. We saw that with Tilray 2 days ago. And we said it's probably a good time to step in. And you could have been a day early and you'd have still been vindicated. Vindicated! Jesus. How much plainer can I get?
I don't know.
Like, I'm going to start wearing white vanilla envelopes for clothing,
Can you repeat that, please, Ed? I didn't catch that.
Vindicated! No, but look at. When the indicators all point one way, any cute news, you know what? And I'll tell you what happens, right? The management of Tilray, when they see this stock going like this, they're saying, get that fucking news out fast. We got news. And so they rush out, they put the news out, and they go, I feel better.
Yeah, but so Novartis was part of that conversation in the Tilray context since when? Since they went public.
Are those batons or drumsticks?
They can be a baton. They can be drumsticks. Or they can be nose cleaners.
Oh.
They're very useful. Depends on whose hands
the
they
joke?
are.
Yeah, there's a joke I could tell. Maybe I'll tell it later.
All right. Do
right.
you think is it suitable for all
Yeah,
audiences?
it's good. It's good.
Is it G-rated?
It's about a
Parental guidance suggested?
a husband and a wife that go see their pastor because
Okay, let's hear it.
they're having marital problems.
Okay, and what happens?
So the wife comes in, sees the pastor, and says, Pastor, I've got some problems at home.
What, the guy's name is Pastor?
No, he's the
He is
local.
a pastor,
Yeah,
but they
you
call
know,
him
he
pastor. Okay.
says, well, what's the problem? You know, you're good churchgoers. You see him, you have these. She says, you know what? He's always picking his nose, and he only will make love to me in the missionary position. Pastor goes, really? Really? That's strange. So then she goes out, and he comes in, and you know, they're talking. They said, well, look, your wife tells me she's got some issues with you. You're always picking your nose.
And you only have
make
sex in
love.
the missionary position.
Well, my dad gave me some advice on my deathbed. I said, what was that? He said, well, I'll give you 2 pieces of advice.
On his deathbed.
On his deathbed. This is his father telling the son, who's now the father.
The heir.
Yeah.
The scion.
He says, whatever you do, son, 2 things you can't do in life. Keep your nose clean and don't fuck up.
Oh my gosh, that was a lot of preamble for that punchline.
Well,
Can I just say?
that's pretty funny.
That's
pretty funny. Keep your nose clean and don't F up.
Yeah, that's.
I don't like to say the F. Yeah, but most of the people I know say the F word with impunity. With impunity.
Well, gratuitously.
Frivolously.
Excessively? Okay.
Okay, I'm down 4 cents.
Everybody is asking me if I'm in the CANN $5 club. He's referring to Heritage Cannabis. And I guess that means, am I a believer that Heritage Cannabis can go to $5, which is an awfully promotional question to ask in our little environment, because if I said, yes, I think it can go to $5, that would imply that I thought it could go to $5. So I don't like to agree or
disagree.
Well, I don't like to participate in speculation on future price because there's really no way for me to know.
You buy stocks.
If I buy, I own the stock.
Okay.
I own the stock, and I've actually probably owned the stock I own the stock in the private that Heritage bought. So, do I think that it could go to $5? Any stock can go to $5. Any stock can go to 100. It depends what happens in the stock. Now, do I think that Heritage is set up to go to $5? A couple things I would like to see Heritage do before it has a better chance of getting to $5. Number one is share consolidation. Even though I say that as a holder of stock, yes, I want you to reduce the number of shares I hold, because seriously, there's 300 million plus out at the end of the day on that sucker. So there's a few things that they could do to get to $5, but can it go to $5? Absolutely. Now, another stock that's going to has the potential to go to $5, and again, I own this stock, and I own it because I think it's got potential. And I just talked to the CEO, Chris Naprawa, a short while ago, and here's what he had to say. Chris, welcome back.
Thank you, James.
Things are really starting to pop for Khiron across Latin America, and I am pleased to note that I had a conversation with Vicente Fox a couple of weeks ago, and Mexico is really coming on strong.
Yeah, it sure is.
And one of the things I want to focus on here, because it seems to me the audience doesn't really get how Khiron is actually kind of doing this to all of Latin America. And so starting with Mexico, what is the client load going to look like in Mexico for what types of products?
Well, first of all, I think with Mexico, when we're talking about Mexico, we're talking about probably the biggest news that's hit the cannabis industry to date. There's a country of 130 million people, it has a massive middle class, and it's not going to have the same level of competition that we saw here in Canada with only 35 million people. So this is a massive change in the cannabis landscape, and I think it's one that everybody should be paying very, very close attention to.
So in Mexico is legalized cannabis for both recreational and medical purposes at this point?
So in Mexico, over the last couple of months, we've had 3 seminal events. One, we've had a Supreme Court ruling that ruled that it was unconstitutional to deny people access to cannabis. We had the outgoing government provide guidelines for cannabis legalization, which was primarily medical. And then the incoming government that's now in with AMLO tabled legislation for full recreational cultivation, import, export. So they're moving very, very fast. And I think that's also characterizes the entire region. Things are changing very, very quickly, and every jurisdiction that legalizes is having pretty much a positive experience with it. You just can't keep denying adults something that's safe and that's something that they want. And certainly on the medical side, it provides a lot of wellness for people.
Yeah, right. So that's you're distributing through a partnership with a pharmacy chain in Mexico.
We've announced our first few products, and we're going with Farmalisto, which is we're also using in Colombia. I would expect you to see more SKUs from us, more partnerships, more distribution.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so 130 million people in Mexico. Now you've also got things moving forward in Brazil.
Yeah, so Brazil, we haven't announced anything yet, but we've had feet on the ground there. Brazil's another massive market of 240 million people. They recently just had an election there, so things are changing very, very quickly. It's our personal view that the region is favorable for cannabis legalization, and on the medical side, there's already some 900 doctors trained on medical cannabis in Brazil, but that's out of 450,000 doctors.
Wow. So then if we were to tally up your Khiron's exposure into the markets it's in, Colombia and Mexico now, as well as the one that it's making moves into, what's the total sort of exposure for the brand?
Well, we have exposure to well through 200 million people right now. So we've made announcements that we've had products accepted or approved in Peru. We announced our partnership with Foundation DEA in Chile. So expect more announcements in Chile as well. Chile is a smaller country of 17 million people, but it is the 4 times the GDP per capita than Colombia. So it's an important market for us.
Peru?
And Peru is a market of some 32 million people, and we've announced our first few products there. So we'll get some more SKUs announced there, and that's primarily on the Quita line to start.
Interesting. So is it shaping up that the topical, nutraceutical, cosmeceutical product line is going to be the sort of the first wave of sales for Khiron across those large jurisdictions?
I think any company that's being successful in the cannabis business today has a very tight view on the regulatory environment in the markets where they operate, and I think that's our case. So in our case, with our regulatory view, we're trying to sell what we can, where we can, when we can, and we're entering those markets as quickly as we possibly can. With the Quita line in particular, which is our wellness line, it's being very well received in Colombia. It's very natural for us to progress that into other markets.
And so how about your production capacity? Is that scaling alongside your distribution potential?
Yeah, we've got ample production capacity right now for our current market, and many of our competitors, James, as you know, are focused on low cost cultivation for export into foreign markets. We're happy to have low cost cultivation, but we're very much focused on selling branded products, sales, execution, brands in our regional markets of 620 million people. And I hear some amazing numbers on how cheap everyone can grow it in Colombia and other markets. Maybe we'll buy some from you, because our demand is going up for our branded products where we enjoy those really high margins.
Right. So that's interesting. So Colombia's got like one of the lowest perceived costs of production globally.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an equatorial region. It's a market that is well suited for agriculture export, palm oil, cocoa, coffee, of course, from Colombia. So all the regulatory environment that is there, the infrastructure is there to do that. And I think some people might be successful at that business, but our business is servicing the people in the markets where we operate. And to do that, we've had to expand very, very quickly. I think our numbers we're just under 80 people now in the business, plus our Islands acquisition, which we announced that we closed that and got TSX approval for that last Friday.
Okay, so sounds like the plan is to be vertically integrated across a few horizontal portals: cosmeceutical, medical, consumer packaged goods, ultimately in the food and beverage space as well.
I think if there's a market that we can be in that we think we have a legitimate shot at being successful in, we'll be there. And we've built an amazing regulatory team, scientific development team, agriculture side, of course, and now sales and marketing. And really, we're making a very strong push into all those markets simultaneously. I know it sounds like a lot, but we're able to replicate a lot of the work that we've done in Colombia. We've been there for 2 years now, over 2 years. We've built an amazing base. We've got just an absolutely elite team of people based in Bogota, and we're exploiting the rest of Latin America with that team.
Sure. So what does this mean for the financial picture for Khiron in 2019?
Well, we've never looked better than we look right now. We accelerated our warrants this last quarter. We have $25 million in cash, which is more than the company's ever had. And you have to remember, we're operating in very low-cost operating environments. It's not the same as what people are trying to do up here in Canada. So we're really pennies on the dollar on the operating costs. That's allowed us to expand very, very quickly. And we're a Colombian company. We're a Colombian-based company. We don't have a whole bunch of executives up here. My entire office fits in my briefcase right behind you, and we move around very quickly here. So everyone is being hired in Colombia, in Santiago, and Mexico City, and other places in Latin America.
Okay, great. And tell me, what are the big milestones that you expect to hit in 2019?
Well, 2019 is going to be a big year for us. We just closed our Islands acquisition, that clinic business that gets us a lot closer to 100,000 patients right there in Bogota. I think you might expect us to replicate that model elsewhere. We're going to have our first prescriptions going out the door in 2019. We've been guiding people towards that, so look for that. That means that we'll be cultivating, harvesting, processing, and delivering prescriptions on that. We're moving our Quita line through multiple jurisdictions, and we're going to get into a couple more jurisdictions as we go. So a year from now, maybe we'll have 300 or 400 people. And the big differentiator with us also compared to a lot of other companies in our region is that we're actually an operating company. We actually have sales now. We have to start accounting for that. And we're hopefully going to do very, very well by our shareholders this year.
All right, Chris, we'll leave it there for now. Thanks for joining me again.
Thank you, James.
What do you make of Khiron, Ed?
I've always liked Khiron. I like the fact that it doesn't have a monster market cap. I like the fact that they got this former Mexican president on the board.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that they've got some approvals from the equivalent of the leading medical agency in their part of the world.
Right.
So I think they're positioned. And I think if Vicente has got a nice little position, he's motivated to get that stock on fire.
Nice little position. I think he's got a big position. I actually interviewed him in New York City just a couple of weeks ago, and he said he had a big position in the company.
Really?
So, yeah, no word of a lie. So what do you make of the Mexican market is 130 million people. So
Yeah.
I laugh when people say, California is the biggest market in North America. Mexico is the biggest market in North America. And Mexico acts as a single market, not like 52 fractured markets
But
with different
there's
rules.
different provinces down there, as you know, and there's some places you want to drill for gold, and there's some places you don't want because of the Mexican drug cartel.
You don't say.
Chicken scratch.
Well, the drug cartels, though, I think they're...
They come and they go.
They come and they go. And, it's getting harder and harder to be a
drug cartelist.
narcotraficante. Muy difícil para ser narcotraficante en esta era.
I agree con that.
Carcel
I
per
agree
todos.
on that.
Anyways,
Say it a little slower.
What? Es muy difícil para estar un narcotraficante hoy. Porque los policías... Actually, the policy are still corrupt as hell there.
You know what?
Yeah. What? Okay.
I think if you're given a little power,
Yes.
you become corrupted.
Really?
If you're given a lot of power, you become extremely corrupted.
So power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely?
You know what? You should coin that one. I don't think that's ever been said.
I think I just said it. You're already suggesting that I just made an original
Didn't the
statement?
German philosopher Nietzsche say that?
I don't know.
You know what else he says?
What does he say? Does he say anything about seeing my NDI in the control room now,
He
finally?
says words can never tell the truth. They're just an approximation. And I believe that.
Words can never tell the truth, they're just an approximation. Well...
You know what I mean? Like, for instance, if you have a feeling and you want to describe it to somebody, you can't really. It'd be better if you could
I'm
tell
horny as hell right now, Ed. Do you know what I mean by that? Yeah.
I'm going to back up.
There we go.
I'm just going to back up.
Oh,
here.
you were saying, what about the truth doesn't exist in words?
Whoa there.
See this pencil? It's making me very excited. No, just kidding. Oh boy, you know what? I don't know what's going on with with the new tech Telecaster Tri-Crasher. It's just not working today. Anyways, I wanted to talk about what's going on in the market. Did you know that the Midas Letter Large Cap Index is actually up 1.13% today to 68.75?
What do you think I've been trying to tell you?
But it's down by half from where it was.
I know, but
6 months ago.
Tilray.
Tilray. 76.50, up $10.61 on the news that Novartis is going to make Tilray their exclusive supplier of cannabis products globally throughout their global distribution channel. Now, you know what this is? This is like, I want to now own any stock that Tilray has made an investment in, because Tilray doesn't have that much global capacity, and now it's got a huge supply channel.
What makes
to fill.
Tilray so effective in convincing major pharmaceutical companies to do their bidding?
Well, because they're a bunch of Silicon Valley investors who have, because of their Silicon Valley roots, have huge connections to all of the largest capital pools on earth in the corporate world. And because of their past success, are able to command the attention of executives in that realm.
Right.
And convince them that what they've done over here, they can do over there. See, you should have drumsticks too. Here, I'll give you one drumstick.
Okay.
En garde. It's not a drumstick, it's a weapon. Oop.
I'm going to speak to you in the Francais.
Boy, you can tell Christmas is almost here, eh? We're having a hard time taking this shit seriously now.
Well,
anyways, Cureleaf added 42 cents today on the news. They're the guys up and down in Florida. T-God down to 268, down 11 cents end of the day.
Let me ask you something.
Okay.
Out of curiosity.
All right. You know what happened to the cat?
Curiosity killed the cat.
You sure you want to know?
Satisfaction brought it back.
Whoa! Curiosity killed the cat, and satisfaction brought it back.
Take your drumstick back. Oh, just kidding.
What the?
Cat and mouse. See, I was about to give it to you, but because you just have this ability not to trust people, and you didn't think I was going to actually give it to you, and threw it away.
I knocked it out of your hand because I thought you were going to shoot me with it.
Oh, it's a loaded drumstick.
It's a loaded pencil.
I like to, you know what? Whenever we have chicken, I always have the drumstick.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I'm more of a thigh man.
I'm more of a leg man.
You're more of an ass man, Ed. Come on, who are you trying to kid?
I'm more of an ass. Oh, okay.
Boy, anyways,
So that's sort of an offhanded way of saying, Ed, you're
you know what MedMen's down to now?
a bit of a donkey.
For donkey, that implies that you've really got a pencil.
Mule.
Mule variations, Tom Waits.
You ever
Got to get behind the mule, boy.
you ever read Isaac Asimov's Foundation?
You know what? I think I have, but I was so young when I read
Yeah.
it that I can't remember even what it's
Well,
about.
there's a section about the mule.
The mule?
And the mule.
And
Don't mess with the mule.
What happens with
He'll
the mule?
drive you crazy.
You know, have you ever drank absinthe? Like the old Czechoslovakian absinthe.
Only when I'm not there.
The one with the wormwood.
Only when I'm not there.
Only when you're not there?
Absent.
Jeez. Let's just say that the humor level is going down to new lows today.
Okay, let's say.
Okay. New text CANN converter.
Is the market closed?
Finder. Yep, market's closed. 409. It's been closed for 10 minutes. Nothing slow about you, Edward.
So, you know what?
Okay.
I'm building up a thirst.
How about now? Do you see the new tech NDI thing in there?
How about we talk to the audience?
Let's bring them into the conversation.
I'd like that.
They'd probably enjoy that too, considering we're like. I guess our point here today is that there's not much to talk about in the marketplace, is there? Would you say that's the case? So right now.
Okay. Let's look at the SPX.
Let's see. Javante Music says chicken balls combo number 1. What does that mean?
Chicken ball. You know what? That's a entree on a Chinese restaurant menu.
Really? Uh-oh, somebody's
Entree
asking
number
for the
1,
sticks to
chicken
be
balls.
removed from my possession. The Velvet Podcast.
Okay, Styx. Is that sort of like the
The band?
band STYX?
Yeah, I remember Styx. What was their big hit?
Stick in the mud?
No, they had one.
Stick it in my dupa?
Welcome to the Grand Illusion. No, that was ELP. Anyways, if you guys have any questions for us out there that you want to know, it doesn't have to have anything to do with stocks or the market. Ed is a font
Ask me anything.
of information.
Ask me anything.
Particularly
and
something with a philosophical bent.
Yeah, something.
If you got some philosophical, universal question
if
to
you're
ask
thinking about,
Ed, bring it on.
Cutting it loose with your girlfriend.
Bring it on.
Maybe you want to, move on.
Here's first universal question of the day. Will there be no Santa boom this year with such low optimism?
Very good question, Grasshopper. I think there may be a boom.
A Santa boom. That's
There's a possibility that because and one of our I think it was maybe the gentleman from Houston.
Ron Vitcher
Alan.
wants to know if that's hot sauce on my shirt. Yeah, but it's not that hot.
No, but Alan Brockstein said it's been a perfect storm for tax loss selling.
Yes.
I think that when the selling.
Oh, is Clint Sharples on today's show?
Yeah,
you know what? Here he is right now. Woohoo! Hey, Clint, welcome back.
Hey, thank you for having me again.
Clint, Heritage continues to execute on its business plan, and why don't we start with an overview of some of the recent events that you've announced?
Sure. So when we first started coming in and talking to you, we were talking about the existence of one subsidiary, one LP, and talking about how we would like to expand our company. Since then, we announced that we were signing a letter of intent with Canacure, based out of Fort Erie near Niagara Falls, a very large facility, 122,000 square feet. We announced that. We closed that in early November in conjunction with a $7.5 million financing. Just before that, we announced that we were looking to acquire Pure Pharma, an extraction company based in Kelowna, British Columbia. We went through the process in the last few weeks of signing a definitive agreement, and then signed the entire deal this last weekend and announced it on Monday. So
Right.
that deal's closed too.
Okay, so now you're definitely in the extraction business.
Oh, yeah, very much so. Yeah, it's taking a front and leading role in how our company is going to expand.
Sure, and one of the Pure Pharma members is joining your board of directors?
Yeah, today we announced Graham Staley, the CEO of Pure Pharma, is coming on board, taking a position being vacated by Brad Culver, who's helped us immensely for the last 5 years. Brad's going off in his other ventures, and Graham is a welcome addition.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, so then in 2019, it sounds like you've got this plan to become a revenue positive, even profitable company. And so tell me some of the steps you're anticipating to make that happen.
Yeah, revenue, profits, amazing. Yes, we are absolutely gunning to that right now. The expansion right now with extraction is happening both in British Columbia and here in Fort Erie. To both of our LPs will have beginning 2 extraction machines each. The supply of hemp that I talked about before, with the 1,600 acres coming inbound, that's been harvested, it's being dried, it's being processed out in Saskatchewan, will be starting to be delivered in mid to late January.
And so you're ready to start extracting that upon delivery?
As soon as we get licensed,
Right.
both Canacure and Fiamet, our 2 LPs, have applied for their extraction licenses.
Okay. There's not a big long lead time on those generally.
Well, that's kind of the unknown right now. It goes into Health Canada. It gets looked at when they decide to look at it. So we're hoping that it'll be sort of the same timing as we're getting ourselves set up. We expect the machines to be installed and running by end of January, mid-February, somewhere in that neighborhood. A bunch of things still need to happen with power in particular and cooling, but that's just all trades and scheduling. So right now, everything's looking good. That if everything goes according to plan, we'll be extracting by call it mid-February.
product needs to go to the lab, be tested, and ready to be sold by towards the end of Q1 2019.
So you were saying earlier that there's a real shortage of available CBD supply from extracted cannabis in Canada, and that you're seeing a lot of demand for your product. So you found this 1,600 acres of hemp to process. Are there going to be more opportunities like that going into 2019, or will you have to rely more upon your own feedstock?
So everyone's well aware of the supply shortage everywhere. You're seeing the lack of retail stores in Alberta and Ontario being awarded because there's no product to be had virtually anywhere. Dried flower is one that's tough to put on shelves. But in particular, CBD oil for medical purposes is really difficult to find. It's being challenging right now for medical patients, people who rely on it. It's quite unfortunate. Because of the reputation that the guys from Pure Pharma have with the quality of product that they put out in the past, we've had quite the demand and quite an interest level from many other LP partners. Our goal is to be mostly a wholesale white label provider, and we're having some conversations right now to see how we go to market.
Okay. What are the big catalysts in 2019 that are going to, sort of broaden the business exposure of the company?
First and foremost is completing the first grow that's going on right now. The deal we announced previously with CannTrust, they provided us with the genetics, and the grow is going very well. The plants have been thriving inside Canacure. We're completing our greenhouse build, our first setup of the greenhouse build out in British Columbia. They'll be ready for growing towards the end of January, when we'll be bringing in clones there. And all at the same time when we're setting up our extraction units in different areas of the facility, both in BC and Ontario. That'll start driving how the extraction market works. Bring in the hemp, put that through the process. We're in active talks with several hemp suppliers. There's some good opportunities out there right now. It needs to be vetted a little bit more. But that's all part of our business plan that leads us into a pretty strong Q2, where Q1's mostly a prepare ourselves and just get ourselves going. It's going to be but a big ramp up starting in Q2, going through 3, going through 4. And it's continually to grow, continuing putting in more extraction units, getting more supply, as we believe that the market for particular CBD oil, but also THC, will become very large once Health Canada lets us know what's going on the edible side, which we're expecting to hear soon.
Right. The allowance of growing cannabis outdoors in Canada is something that the Canadian government has been very sort of clear on moving toward. And is that where you see that you might have more opportunity to acquire the output of other growers as opposed to having to grow it yourself?
Yeah, I sure hope so. The actual outdoor grow, the first one was announced a little while ago, a few weeks ago. If indeed there's the success that happens with the outdoor, or for that matter, even the large greenhouses, if they can start giving us that kind of an inbound supply for our product, that's amazing to us. This is exactly what we're looking for growth. You'll see Canada is going to become even more of a leader than we are considered today on the overall cannabis market if we can start producing that kind of volume to be brought in. It'll be a game changer.
Yeah, no doubt. Do you think that there's going to be a shift in the quantity of cannabis grown as farmers, who might now be growing, rapeseed or flax or barley, sort of look at the cannabis space and go, I think I'm going to plant cannabis this year since I'm allowed to? Do you think that's going to be an increasing trend?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Farmers, when it comes right down to it, they're business people, and they take a look at chunk of land that what's the best utilization for it. There's some rules surrounding hemp. There's some rules surrounding cannabis. Your proximity to other crops, as they tend to pollinate and get growing in amongst other things. So there needs to be some space in between. But it's making a great opportunity for what otherwise would be a more challenging price environment on some other crops. Gives some pretty good opportunity.
Sure, you bet. All right, Clint, well, that's a great update. I'm happy to hear the progress as a shareholder, and so I'm looking forward to 2019. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, Ed, there's a good question here, and people are getting a little annoyed that they're not getting the answer.
Give us the question.
Have you ever used psychic tools for predicting stocks? I personally use the tarot, and it's been great. This is from Nikki Doma at Mind Your Wealth. Nikki, good question. I think you've stumped the old fella here. Ed, what do you got to say about that?
Well, I don't believe in shaman. I don't believe in razzmatazz. I believe in the facts.
Okay.
So there.
So
Tarot cards?
That's a no then. You don't use psychic tools. What about metaphysical mumbo jumbo?
You mean, in other words, do I bullshit?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think, let's not reveal all our secrets.
Do you know what the Farm Bill is all about?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, it's about farming. What?
Is it about farming or
How could
farms?
the Farm Bill not be about farming?
I don't think you know what it's
Why
about.
would they call it the Farm Bill? No,
Because
answer that question.
has implications for farms, but without touching farming.
Okay, so it's got nothing to do with farming.
No, I think it does. How could it have implications
so what did I
for
say?
farms?
It has something to do with farming.
Yeah, well, but that's
Okay.
not what it is.
You asked me, what's it about?
Okay, you know what? Let's stop confusing people. Let's listen to what we have to say.
Since the 1970s, hemp has been classified as a Schedule I drug on the U.S. federal government's list of controlled substances, alongside heroin, LSD, and marijuana. After months of debate and negotiation, the news is in and Congress has voted to include the legalization of the cultivation of hemp on the 2018 Farm Bill.
There will be some steps that have to be taken after the Farm Bill is passed. The Farm Bill authorizes the Secretary of Agriculture or the states to take the first stab at promulgating regulations of hemp. But the bill itself could be signed into law as early as next week. Previously, at least under the Controlled Substances Act, the Controlled Substances Act didn't care about whether or not a cannabis plant had THC or didn't have THC. They were all the same. They were all considered marijuana. So this bill is going to narrow the definition of what constitutes marijuana under federal law. The bill authorizes the states to take the primary responsibility for regulating marijuana, which will now be called hemp. Those cannabis plants that have very low concentrations of THC. So it gives the states the opportunity to regulate this particular agricultural commodity and the production of this commodity, to supervise the growing of it and so on. But there is one caveat that is in order, and that's that even though this new bill legalizes hemp and CBD drawn from hemp under the Controlled Substances Act, the use of CBD in a lot of products is still heavily regulated by the federal government. The FDA, for example, currently says that it is unlawful to put CBD into a food product and then sell it across state lines.
With the new laws that the Farm Bill brings to the U.S., what effect will this have on Canadian cannabis companies?
Where the Canadian LPs look to stand from this, we see a number of large, both LPs and Canadian cannabis companies that are looking for M&A activities. We recently saw Canopy Growth acquire through a cash and share transaction purchase of a leader in hemp-derived products, both from an R&D and commercialization perspective, called Abu. Bruce Linton from Canopy has been on record saying that once the U.S. takes hemp off of a Schedule I substance, that they'll be ready to deploy some form of a strategy. The hemp market in the U.S. in particular, we're looking at a pretty fast ramp. So the latest estimates suggest that 20 to 22 billion US dollars is how much the hemp value in the US will be worth. So there's certainly a lot of opportunities for many of the Canadian LPs to take advantage of this. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a plethora of M&A activities moving forward over the next little bit and into H1 of 2019 and beyond.
For Midas Letter Live, I'm Adamo Barbieri.
Did you know that, Ed?
No.
So basically, now thanks to the Farm Bill, we have hemp and cannabis.
Hemp.
In the eyes of the U.S. law. Yeah.
It's a new product out there called hemp.
Well, hemp has always been interchangeable with cannabis, but the primary use of growing hemp was always for its fiber, whereas the primary use for cannabis, now see, I'm going to get myself into trouble here. For marijuana, if you say marijuana, you're meaning the stuff that gets you high. If you're saying hemp, you're meaning the stuff that's really strong that you can make ropes and sails out of.
Ribbit. You know what?
He's making frog noises now.
Yeah, well, you know what? Look, I think it's there's a famous play by Shakespeare, Much Ado About Nothing.
Yeah.
I think that's what this is all about. Who can figure out how to get the most money out of the system? That's what I think. It's always back to that.
It's a wealth transfer exercise. The system being everybody who has money. Johnny Aruba 9 has a question.
Hi, Johnny.
James or Ed really need to understand, in your opinion, why Heritage is still trading so low. Can you shed any light for us? Johnny, I can indeed. The reason it is still trading so low is because there's such a ton of cheap paper out there from the previous vehicle that is free trading. So, with however over 100 million shares in the float, that's free trading that might have a cost basis below 10 cents. You're lucky it's even trading at 16 cents. We haven't done the math on what that cost basis is, but that's why we're hoping the company will see its way towards consolidating the shares, because that way you're going to...
What's the ticker for Heritage, James?
CANN on the CSE.
All right, yeah, we looked at that, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why, in my point of view. So yeah, you're wondering if now is the time to get in on U.S. pot stocks. Well, yes and no. U.S. pot stocks right now are taking advantage of the fact that they can only trade on the Canadian exchange and for a real exchange.
Yeah, except Tilray doesn't trade on the Canadian exchange.
Tilray trades on NASDAQ, but most companies can't come together, can't get the capital and the requirements together to trade on NASDAQ right out of the chute. And in fact, it took Tilray 3 years from the time they got organized. So, most new companies need to go to the CSE. Is that necessarily the best place for Americans to be investing on the Canadian Securities Exchange, where they've got to do the calculations of, currency conversion as well as figure out what their absolute performance is? I would say probably not. Also, valuations on U.S. stock exchanges tend to go higher in big cap markets. So, yeah, you can start buying them now. Some of them will survive. A lot of them won't, though. A lot of them will not be able to survive the imminent competition in the CBD pricing as a result of the Farm and States bill. That is going to catalyze a price war in the United States. Especially if now you can ship cross-border CBDs derived from cannabinoids. What's the difference between CBDs derived from hemp versus cannabis? Absolutely zero. It's just that for a hemp plant to be qualified as a hemp plant, according to U.S. law, it has to have less than 0.3% THC. Really doesn't make a difference. If you've got thousands of acres of hemp plants, you can concentrate any extract into whatever concentration of THC CBD combo you would like.
Is that right?
Yeah. So it really demonstrates the absence of leaven.
Who's your source on this bit of information?
The source?
Yeah, like where you got a Like, is someone giving you some news tips here?
No, it's a fact. It's.
Oh, okay.
I mean, all you have to do is be a lifelong grower of cannabis to understand how the ratios.
Like, a good news person never tells who their informant is.
Yeah, well, and a good news person is
you.
No, I'm not a news guy. I'm not a journalist. I'm a market participant, which means I have to do a deeper level of research, I like to think, because it's my money at risk. It's not just like I can make shit up and say unnamed sources, a source who refused to be named, which is part of the problem with all this fake news stuff going on, but we don't want to even wade into that right now. Anyways, as we said, we're having a party tonight, and if you can figure out where it is, you are invited. But if you don't know where it is, you cannot come.
It's my party.
Or can you?
And I'll cry if I want
Anyways,
to.
there's a really big show for today. We're going to have another big show tomorrow, but it's going to be more fun, and we're going to see it tomorrow, but where everybody here is going to have a hangover, so it probably won't be as much fun for you as it is for us. Thank you very much for watching.
Signing off here.
We'll see you
Signing
tomorrow.
off with the